Hello and welcome to episode 281 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. I am one of the co-founders here at ETR, and we are coming off of a full Chubb kind of week. Yes, that's right. Week 9 was one of the lowest scoring DFS weeks I can remember, thanks to duds from Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, Albert O, Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Jarvis Landry, Rondale Moore, Brandon Cooks, Kadarius Toney, Aaron Jones, Dallas Goedert, etc. In weeks like this, when so many of the popular plays fail, it doesn't take a lot to win, right? Like basically, you needed Nick Chubb and or Lamar Jackson or Nick Chubb with Justin Herbert stacks, right? Like not that crazy at all. And I know there's been a lot of controversy over the Chubb stuff. And by the way, I know just before we started recording this that Nick Chubb is on the COVID list, so we'll cover that throughout the week. But looking back to week 9, I know there was a lot of controversy over the Chubb stuff. You know, is it okay to play Chubb in cash, etc.? Is it okay to play Chubb in tournaments, etc.? And my take is pretty simple on it. From a raw talent, from a efficiency, from a team run rate versus expectation, Chubb and the Browns are not all that different than Derrick Henry and the Titans. Like both with pretty poor, albeit not zero, but pretty poor pass game role, both in extreme run-heavy offenses. The main difference is that Chubb splits so much time with Kareem Hunt, while the big dog handles such an overwhelming number of running back carries. But if we zoom out of week 9 and say, hey, this is a huge division game against the Bengals, Kareem Hunt is out, Nick Chubb is another week removed from the calf injury. I mean, at 6,700, it's a smash. And to be fair, I preferred Ezekiel Elliott. I preferred Austin Eckler. But we did have Chubb third at running back in top plays. So, yeah, you know, I played Lamar Jackson and Nick Chubb in cash, you know, easily made up for the Kadarius Toney disaster, made up for Amari Cooper, who, God, I mean, I never really felt comfortable with Amari Cooper in cash, given the nagging injuries and so much elite target competition in Dallas. But, you know, Lamar and Chubb made up for that, made up for the Zeke mess, made up for the Tyreek Hill debacle. And one thing, you know, I've been talking about for a while, really, is keeping ceiling in mind, even for cash. You know, the last 2v2 I was thinking about after the Tua news broke, you know, Tua was going to miss the game. The last 2v2 was Jacoby Brissett and Austin Eckler versus Lamar Jackson and Kadarius Toney. And knowing, you know, how fragile, how much of a head case, how nicked up Kadarius Toney has been, and with Golladay, Slayton, Evan Ingram all healthy, you can make a case that the floor was better on the Brissett-Eckler side. But if the median case is close, well, damn, man, you know, let me just ram right into the ceiling case. And I actually thought Toney's ceiling was really strong based on Sterling Shepard out, the targets per route run Toney has earned, the targets per route run that the slot spot has gotten from Danny Dimes. And then, you know, obviously the ceiling for Lamar in this spot, I mean, we talked about it all week. It was so obvious. Lamar was massively owned. This Ravens team leaning over neutral in pass rate over expectation, coupled with Rashad Bateman joining Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, you know, coupled with Lamar's running ability. I mean, good Lord, you know, Lamar gets 30 so often in that spot at home against the Vikings. So, yeah, you know, I was happy with the way it worked out in cash this week. Obviously, it came down to, did you play Chubb? Did you play Lamar or not? I want to get to tournaments, but first have to remind everyone that we have reduced the rest of season price of our NFL product to just $149.99. That gets you everything we do on the NFL side from now through the Super Bowl, projections, ownership, all the articles, shows, props, Discord, etc. You don't need a promo code or anything. Just go to the subscribe page and you'll see rest of season $149.99. Also still have the weekly and monthly options up available. All right, so week 9 tournaments. I have to give a big congrats to Leone. Thunderdome is obviously a very small field tournament, but it is, to me, the flagship tournament of the Nosebleed Stakes, and it's always an accomplishment to win it. For more on Leone's team and the thought process behind it, we did the weekly tournament review yesterday morning. You can find that on the site. But yeah, you know, the whole idea of this whole concept for tournaments of what do you win when you win is so clear on a slate when so many good plays fail. Like, if those plays hit, great. It doesn't mean that we win. But man, when you hit on something low owned in a week like this, I mean, you can really ship and get huge returns in tournaments. So again, what do you win when you win? I didn't do great in tournaments this week, but my best team, I had it, man. It was a Justin Herbert stack on DraftKings, which also had Nick Chubb and Justin Jefferson. The problem was the stack was with the wrong guys, and I know that maybe you could say, it's just bad luck, whatever, I never try to never say that. I try to never say that. Well, I just got the combo of the stack wrong, because in the early games on this team, I only had Nick Chubb, Justin Jefferson, Albert O, and Texans defense. Given what else happened at 1 o'clock, obviously the team was in really, really good shape. And so the stack that I had in and ended up sticking with was Justin Herbert, Big Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Dallas Goedert. But man, in hindsight, I think the big mistake was using my flex spot at tight end instead of going for Devonta Smith as the bringback. And that brings me to something that I've been thinking about. I joke a lot about punting tight end and trying to spend as little as humanly possible at the position. And, like most stuff, it's half joking, half serious. I think the idea, though, of playing mid-range tight ends just for the sake of it, just to be different, I'm just always skeptical on that, because both the floor and the ceiling at that mid-range is worse than wide receivers. Like, oh, great, you got off Dan Arnold in week 8, or you got off Albert O in week 9. Great. Yeah, well, Andrews, Jared Cook, Gesicki, Goddard, Pitts, Schultz, like all those guys are dust also. They have really low floors also. And yeah, of course, you can run into a big Andrews game. We saw a big Kittle game. But from a more macro sense, I just don't want to play mid-range or high-end salaried tight ends unless it's a really good play. I don't want to just do it to be different. Because if I had that thought in my head, maybe I go with Devonta Smith over Dallas Goedert, and then I save money down from Big Mike to Keenan. And then, I mean, that's all it took. I would have won it instead of, getting 38th in the tournament for dust. Anyway, I'm talking too much like a GPP bro now. It's enough. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the first ever, the inaugural ETR subscriber league. It was a 1,000 entry field, $5 buy-in, and it was taken down by M. Hunkler. Shout out to you. He had a Lamar double, Justin Jefferson bring back, and got on James Conner somehow at 0.2% owned. Great team. Congrats. If you are a subscriber and you want to get into the Week 10 tournament, it is rake free. Link is in the Discord. Reminder, instructions to join the Discord are in the Our Team tab. Absolutely have to be in the Discord to get into this tournament, but more importantly, have to be in the Discord to get the prop alerts. All right. Enough is enough. Let's get to everybody's favorite portion of the program, the listener questions. Producer Luke, hit the theme music. Question 1 comes from Danny. He says, when on a cold streak in DFS, better to keep playing to get back on track or take a break and reevaluate? Hard to take a week off on NFL when the season is so limited. Yeah, it's a good question. In theory, there shouldn't be, quote unquote tilt in DFS, at least not in the way that I think of tilt. Like, it's very clear in poker when you're making decisions in the heat of the moment, the decisions are coming at you rapidly every minute. You get steamed up and your decision making starts to go really bad. That's tilt. That literally happens to everyone. In DFS, though, there's so much time between slates. Decisions aren't really made in a time-sensitive moment type of way. So I find that I'm not really tilted by the time Thursday or Friday comes around from the previous week. If I lose on the Sunday before, by Thursday, I feel fine. I think my head is in a good space. And I think if you're playing within your role, that should be the case. But I would absolutely never look down on anyone for taking time off just for a mental health break, period. Obviously, there's a lot of stress involved, and I do think mental resets are typically good. One point that Danny made, you have to understand the NFL season, there's really only 18 main slates a year. It used to be 17, now there's 18, but 18 main slates a year. Only 5% of the days in a year have NFL main slates. So yeah, it's tough to swallow taking one off if A, you really enjoy it, or B, you have a good expectation, or hopefully C, both. So yeah, I get it. Question 2 from Ben. He says, is there any correlation between the PSM model? I love it, by the way, when people say PSM model. It's like the M already stands for model. So you're going double M, penis size model. But anyways, Ben says, is there any correlation between the PSM model and quantity of body hair? I have to imagine a large hammer equates to more body hair, which is indicative of a tougher and more elite athlete. Good question. I got to be honest, we have zero data on this. Our R&D team is just so backed up, inundated with requests as Gender Labs, has gone kind of mainstream. But generally on body hair, I mean, as someone who suffers from the affliction, it's not great, man. It's not great. And it's only getting worse. Like, I'm 39 now. The tricep hair is getting out of control. And like everything connects, all the hair connects from the neck down to the foot. It's so bad. And actually, if I was single, I'm pretty confident that I would go for the full body wax, 40-year-old virgin style. And now that I think about it, actually, I might do the full body wax now anyways, if I thought that it would last. Like, if I could just do it once and then be done forever, I might do it. But I can't face, coming back thicker and heavier and having to constantly go through the waxing. That's just too much for me to handle. Question 3 from Chris. He says, do you play any snake drafts or single game snake? I have found some great success jamming in several snake drafts a half hour before lock. I've actually never played those. I think what Chris is referring to is on DraftKings. You can actually do snake drafts. You can do them on Underdog also, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all that it's incredibly soft. Any game where you have to physically be there, it's like do a snake draft and you can't scale it out. It takes time and the stakes are relatively small. Like sharps or even hardcore grinders aren't going to be in the mix there. And if we're being honest, the games where there isn't a lot of good content around them are also going to be softer. Like on a micro level, I'm sure the Thursday through Monday slate is softer than the main. Of course, second half DFS is softer than full game showdown. It just is what it is. Question 4 from Mark. He says, would you rather be a guest on Howard Stern or make a deep run in the WSOP main event? First of all, big good luck, big GL to everyone in the World Series of Poker main going on right now. To answer the question, I think it depends. Like, if I went on Stern as, some small bit, let's make fun of this fantasy virgin or some other silly game, I mean, that's kind of meh, right? But if I went on Stern as a full-blown guest and did an hour interview, which obviously would never happen, but if I did that, yeah, I would take that for sure over a deep run in the World Series of Poker main. But anything less than that, I think going deep in the main is probably better. Like, day one of poker tournaments sucks so bad. I mean, it's so painful. And when it's, a deep tournament, like, some of the WPT mains or whatever, like even day 2 sucks. World Series day 2 sucks too. But going deep in a poker tournament, like really deep, is incredibly fun. I can't think of many things in gambling better than like being at the last 4 tables of the main. So yeah, I'd love to. Question 5 from Keith. He said, did you guys plan on being able to use establish the show, establish the million, establish the collection? Did we plan on being able to use that for everything, or did it just work out perfectly? Sorry for the lack of dick references in this question, by the way. No problem, Keith, on the lack of dick references, a bunch of perverts out there. Yeah, naming the company or naming really anything new, I think is hard, like really hard. It's pretty important, and trying to be original and also something sharp, it's difficult. I actually don't remember exactly what happened. We discussed and brought up a lot of names. I think Taylor actually brought up Establish the Run. I liked it right away, but I was mostly worried about SEO stuff, which, I knew and I know very little about, but obviously you want people to be able to find the site through search, and nobody's searching, Establish the Run for fantasy football information, right? So, we didn't have fantasy in the name. We didn't have roto in the name. I liked the idea of being original, but the SEO stuff scared me. And I also thought that the name was a little long, but in the end, it's been great. It can be shortened to ETR. You get the alpha nods from both sides. People who are making fun of the old school football establishment about establishing the run. And then you also get, the nod of approval from the boomers who think we're serious about teams wanting to establish the run. So, but yeah, I mean, we just couldn't come up with names for pods and shows and stuff. So we started doing establish the for everything. And I wish I could say that it was mapped out perfectly like that, but no, it wasn't. Question 6 from Austin. He says, you're normally a cash game guy, but seem to be trending towards a GPP, bro. How are you allocating your weekly bankroll to each now? Yeah, I'm still taking on all comers in head-to-head. I'm not playing nearly as many double-ups and 50-50s and 3-mans as I used to, mainly because I'm just trying to concentrate more on tournaments. So the amount varies. I'd say typically, it's 30 to 40% in tournaments and the rest in cash. Maybe one day I'll kind of sail off into the sunset and go full GPP, bro. You never know. Stay tuned. All right, last question we're going to do today comes from Bernie. He says, hey, Adam, what are your thoughts on karaoke? This girl I'm interested in loves it and wants to make our first date a karaoke date. Problem is, I have an awful voice. Do I just bail now or risk humiliation not only in front of her, but in front of an entire bar of virgins? Yeah, tough spot, Bernie. I think you know what you have to do, right? You have to get up there and just own it. Go up there with max swag, max confidence, put 100% effort into your karaoke performance. That is like so clearly what you have to do if you want to get on the hashtag team. So that's one path. But for me, man, I don't know. Like sometimes dignity is worth more than anything. And I'm just not sure I could face doing the karaoke thing, even if I knew that it would like explicitly prevent the sex. She'll think that you're no fun, you're a square, you're timid, you're shy. Girls don't want that. Girls just want to have fun. But that's something that I'm okay living with. You got to decide that for yourself. Like when I was in college, it was just so straightforward. You go to the dance floor, you dance, you give yourself a positive expectation at getting on the team, period. Like it couldn't have been more clear, but I just couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. And it's not like it's hindsight. I knew it at the time. It's not like it's something that hit me later in life. I made a very conscious decision that the dancing scene is not for me. It's not worth it. I have too much dignity. I'd rather play NHL 2000 on PlayStation, with a bunch of virgins all night. And I was at peace with it then, and I'm at peace with it now. So look, again, Bernie, you got to do some deep soul searching here. I'll support you either way, brother. All right. That is going to do it for this edition of the Solo Pod. I'll be back later tonight with Silva to go team by team. If you haven't tried out ETR yet, be a reminder, we do have weekly and monthly packages. Also, if you're into the prop game, NBA props, every night, 7 days a week, 5, 6, 7 props with such a positive expectation. It's been so fun taking those and sweating them. Check that out separate from DFS. For Producer Luke. For Jerry, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.